Hi, submarine friends. Well, I have the engine portion of the electrical system installed. Also, the variable or the bilge pump is also wired in. So, the way it works is first we turn on power to the whole engine system. So that lights up all the gauges, including the fuel gauge. I don't need the fuel gauge when I'm submerged. So, when I dive, I just turn off everything to the engine and it's all dead. So we turn on the engine. This is the start button. This one here activates the electric clutch. So it's an electric clutch that drives the compressor. So as soon as the pressure is where I want it, I just turn off the clutch and it stops spinning. The bilge, so that's right here, that's actually automatic. So all I'm doing is I'm feeding it power. When the water comes in, then it runs. Then there's the fan. And that's for cooling the engine compartment / occupant compartment. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, getting the cool air in here. Maybe I just have to open the door to the engine bay. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. I can always add a second one of these up front if I need to. And then these switches are for the variable ballast tank automatic pump, but it's obviously not in here. And these are just two spare switches for lights and whatnot. I haven't got that far yet. One thing that's rather disappointing is I installed my little float switch. Now it's a little cheap. I should know better. It's just a cheap piece of crap. I'm just going to take it out, throw it in the garbage, and cut my losses. So I've got a siren right here that blares away when the float switch is activated. So I'm just going to buy a proper, those little flapper switches for bilge pumps. They're super reliable and they're not expensive either. But I won't buy a cheapie. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. These cables here, these are the main power cables that go to the batteries, which are actually right here. So where that battery, well, maybe you can't see it, but there's a battery sitting on a crate. There's batteries on each side of the hull. And so these cables tie into that. This is a temporary ground because the whole system is not complete. So I just need a ground to test all this. I did have a couple wires crossed because I didn't have them labeled well. So I need to get, you can buy little stickers that you put on wires, and then I'll put a chart inside. I'll have a chart printed that I put inside the panel. So, number one wire will be, for instance, to start the engine and so on. That's important because you forget. Like right now, I know what each wire does because I just put it together, but you forget. So all those will be labeled, and there'll be a schematic inside the panel. So you just pop this panel off like this, and away you go. Now the wires inside here, they're not all tie strapped nice yet because I have to add wires still. So once I do that, then I clean it up by tying all the wires together, making it pretty. And one thing that I do is all these gauges, they have such delicate little wires and connections. I actually put the nut on the gauge, and then I put a blob of silicone on top just to hold it in place so that it can't vibrate loose or the wire doesn't break off from vibrations. That's a really good trick. That works really well. I've actually done that on these switches too, because the screws can come loose on these switches. So a little blob of silicone goes a long way. It's a bit of a pain when you have to take it out, but you're taking it out because it's no good anymore, so who cares? So that's where we're at so far today. Hopefully this big trade war going on with the US and Canada isn't going to impact my jobs and whatnot this year, so I can continue with this. If it does, I may have to put this on hold because I can't be spending money on this if I have jobs canceled. Like I book a year in advance. So my whole 2025, our jobs are all booked, contracts, deposits, the whole bit. But I mean, if these people are in the oil patch and stuff and they lose their jobs, you can't expect them to continue. So that could impact us. And I have employees to look after too, so I have to be careful. Anyways, fingers crossed that we get to keep on moving forward. Ciao.